Welcome back to Wiseman Company, everyone. Ben Brown here. Today we're going to do a handgun checkup video. Recently I did a video on your AR-15, what you need to check for if you've put some serious rounds on it over the past few months. There's just some things to look for, make sure everything's okay so it can perform how you want it to perform. Today, like I said, we're going over the handgun. This is my Glock 45. Tons of rounds through this gun. As you can see, the Cerakote's starting to wear off on it. The RMR's dinged up, banged up. And there's some things that I need to check for because I've gotten a lot of mileage out of this gun and I want to continue to get mileage out of it. So let's look over it. Let's start with cleaning and lubrication first. Guys get so wrapped around the axle with cleaning, and that's fine. If you want to polish this thing until the polymer wears away, by all means, go ahead. I'm not going to stop you. Fact of the matter is, though, these guns can run pretty darn dirty. They actually seem to like it, in my experience. The more I shoot them, keeping them lubricated, of course, the more I shoot them, though, the smoother they seem to get. Now, that doesn't mean you shouldn't clean these guns at all. They are going to hit a failure point where they just build up with so much grime and grit that stuff starts to not operate correctly. But that is a long time down the road. That is a high round count. And again, if you like cleaning your gun every single day, go for it. That's not me. When I'm talking about cleaning, I'm doing a simple field strip. Taking the slide off the lower, taking the barrel out, taking the recoil spring out, wiping everything down, reapplying lubrication, putting it back together, and then function testing it. That simple. I will do a complete strip down of a gun, particularly Glocks, if I have a ton of round counts or I'm running into serious malfunctions out on the range. But for the most part, it's a simple field strip. And I would recommend that you get on YouTube, search different videos on how to clean your handgun, your particular handgun. There's a ton of videos out there. We're not going to dive into the nitty-gritty of how to clean a handgun today. I'm just going to tell you, I field strip it, slide, barrel, recoil spring, separate from the lower, wipe everything down, lube it, and I'm good to go. If you have a ton of experience with handguns or your model handgun and you want to strip it down to the last spring, go for it. Again, I'm not going to stop you. I like to lubricate frequently, and I said this in the AR-15 video and I'll say it in the handgun video. I think lube is more important than cleaning for the most part, but you hit a point where you got to clean it either because you're running into malfunction or you can visually look at it and see, man, this thing has a ton of carbon buildup. Probably should just take care of it. Next, let's check that sighting system. Whether you're an irons guy or a red dot individual or both, I prefer just a red dot. Yes, I have irons on here, but I can't get them off. They're kind of like rusted in place. I will get them off. I just got to put the time in to do that. On red dots, you want to see if it's loose. So take the top, go to the top of your slide, wiggle that red dot on there. Is it moving around? If you've put witness marks on your RMR screws or whatever dot you have, the screws inside of it, have those witness marks moved? So are those screws starting to come out? If they are, do you need to add Loctite? Again, I'm not a huge proponent of Loctite. It can be a real mess if you do it improperly or put too much on, but it does work. So if you need to add some Loctite to those screws, by all means do it. Just don't add a ton because someday you might want to get those screws out of there and it can be a pain if there's too much Loctite gumming up the works in there. So checking that optic if it's loose. If it is loose, why? Check the screws, tighten everything back down. If it has come loose, that means your zero has obviously moved. So you need to reconfirm that zero. Go out there. I like a zero at 10 yards with a handgun. It's just a good distance. And check that zero. It shouldn't have moved too much. If there was a little play or wobble, should be still on paper. Hopefully it hasn't moved that much. But tweak it, adjust that zero a little bit, get it to where you need it to be, and you're back in business. Iron sights are not exempt from failing. I've actually failed more iron sights than I ever have a red dot, simply because they just break off or the screw comes undone and they fall out. So Double check those irons. They're not invincible. If you're an irons guy, it should be a relatively easy check. See if they're loose. If you have witness marks, see if they've moved at all. Finally, with those red dots, make sure your batteries are good. If you haven't checked batteries in a while, this might be the time to do it. With the RMR, you need to take it off of the gun to swap the battery. So it is a little bit of a process. Battery life on these RMRs are long. It's 3 to 5 years depending on the settings you have. I don't like to wait that long to change the batteries. If I'm cleaning it, if I'm doing a maintenance on it, I might as well swap the batteries out. It's better safe than sorry. We took that optic off to put the battery in there. We put it back on. Again, I'm gonna check 0 if this optic has moved or shifted in any way, whether it was from me or just regular wear and tear. I'm gonna confirm that 0. Let's move on to magazines. This is 50% of the equation right here. Every firearm has a source of ammunition. Glock mags are notoriously reliable, but they're not invincible. I like to take this is my carry mag, I like to take all my defensive ammo out. I inspect that as well. A lot of issues can go on with defensive ammo as you take it in and out of the gun constantly. Take all the ammunition out of it, take your base plate off, take your follower and spring out. Like to give the inside a good wipe down, make sure the spring looks good, the follower looks good, put it back together, load it back up. Magazines can be a huge failure point. Make sure they work. If you find one that doesn't, mark it, use it for training. It's not worthless. Use it for training reps, use it for dry fire. Just make sure you mark it so you know which one it is. Next, let's cover holsters. If you carry this gun on every day, you're gonna wanna make sure that holster is still in working condition. This is a holster from QVO Tactical. Roger is a great holster maker. He has a great company. He has a great YouTube channel. If you want to see a YouTube channel better than mine, go over to Roger's. He does a great job over there, covers a ton of different topics, ton of different gear. He does a phenomenal job. He makes phenomenal holsters. I use his holsters. This is a more discreet inside the waistband. I've tweaked it a little bit, but this is his holster. Very comfortable to use. We're going to check this thing as well. Is all the hardware tight? Is anything backing out? Does it still have good retention? Is there any cracks in it? I recently threw out a holster I'd been using for a long time because the Kydex had split down the front here right next to the sight channel. I don't want to use that. I don't trust it anymore, so I'm getting rid of it. It's better just to get a new holster. So when we're checking handguns, check the holster. This is basically like your sling. If we're comparing it to AR-15s, this is what this handgun travels around in. This is what keeps it from going off inside your pants and blowing your junk off. Check your holster. Has hardware, things can fail. All right, guys, that's my handgun checkup list. Go through it, take your time, make sure everything is squared away if you've put some substantial rounds on your handgun. If you're out on the range and you start to see some signs like slide not locking to the rear, or magazines not falling free, trigger not resetting, or points of impact changing if you're using a red dot or even your irons, those might be some signs to look for so you can say, okay, maybe I need to take this in, do a checkup on it, make sure everything's good to go. Hopefully, if you go cover this checklist, you go through your handgun, you'll be good for another 5,000 rounds or maybe more. It really depends on what you want to do and what handgun you have. Again, I do it every 5,000 rounds. Guys, if I missed anything in this handgun checkup, put it down in the comments below. People have different ideas and different things they like to do to make sure their equipment's working right. I want to hear from you guys as always. So hop down in the comments. Let me know if I missed anything. Thank you for watching. Hit that like button, subscribe to our channel. Go over to wisemancompany.com. A ton of great gear over there for you guys to pick up, and that supports us directly. Thank you so much. We'll see you on the next video.